233 miles now for the Brooks Hyperion Max. Is its time up? Is it nearly done? Today we're going to be diving in and finding out. What is up guys, Andy Forrester Dean Runner here. Welcome back to another video. And today I'm giving you a long-term review of the Brooks Hyperion Max after 200 miles. So this has been one of the quickest shoes for me to get up and over the 200 mile mark. As I said, closer to 250 now, and it's absolutely flying. It's got me through a marathon training block, and I'm excited now as we taper down for the race to share some thoughts on this long-term review. And with all long-term reviews, I'm going to be talking about the wear and tear, how I've been using it, will I continue to use it, and give you some final thoughts because I'm just starting to wonder if this thing's time is running out. I'll share why I think that later on. So if you're excited for today's video guys, make sure you give it a like, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel for weekly running content, and let's dive in to the wear and tear. So in terms of the wear and tear on this shoe, absolutely fantastic. As always, you can see it is absolutely caked in mud. I've given up on trying to clean this thing, but this thing gets a lot of use almost 2 or 3 times a week, hence why we're ramping the miles up in this thing quickly. So if you can see through the mud, you can see the upper here is still in great shape, still holding up strong, no snags, no frays, no tears. In terms of the lacing system, this has been one of the massive highlights for me. These laces are really good. I found them to be grippy. A lot of companies, I've done a couple of reviews of shoes lately where they've had laces that I've thought maybe felt a bit cheap, but then I've realised they've put kind of like texture pattern on them so that they grip really well. I feel like like Brooks have done it the best on this Hyperion Max. These laces are fantastic, and I've got to say it's just been a real standout of this shoe. But you can see the bagginess of the material here. It's folded where I've been using it, and you've got to understand I have a relatively wide foot, so this is a very roomy shoe to the point where the upper is folding over a little bit here, but it's not causing any issues. As you can see down the side here, still holding up nicely. In terms of the midsole, still looking pretty darn fresh. Few creases and stuff, but you kind of expect that when you're running the shoe for over 200 miles. It's still feeling really good, still as much pop as when I got it, and the outsole is absolutely showing no signs of wear and tear whatsoever. No rubber rubbing down at all. The only area that there is any sign of it is at the very top there. I don't know if you can see that. There's just a little bit of the couple of the grooves there that have worn down, but other than that, the rest of the shoe is still holding up really well. So how have I been using this shoe? Well, it's been used for absolutely everything. I have even used it for a couple of easy days, but to be honest with you, if you've heard me talk about the shoe before, I found that the range on this thing is so strong. Think of it as a great all-round runner, someone that can run a really fast 800 meters and a really fast marathon. They don't particularly have one area where they're really solid on. They just cover everything in a really good range, and that's exactly what this shoe does. So yeah, I've done a couple of easy runs in it, but mainly anywhere from moderate pace runs, which has been a lot of my medium long runs on a Tuesday, my steady Fridays where I've eased off a bit and still run relatively steady or moderate, but you know, haven't pushed as hard as a medium long run, and then some workouts, and then my long runs. I mean, any trail long run, bar one time when I use the Endorphin Speed 3s, I've used the Brooks Hyperion Max. They've covered everything on the trails. They run really well. And when I say trails, just for those of you that are new to the channel, I basically run on a lot of fire track trails. So we're not talking technical trails here. We're talking very runnable trails. They get a little bit muddy here in patches, but on the whole, all year round, they're very runnable. So that's why this thing is just holding up really well. In terms of the workouts that I'm doing on a Wednesday, if I'm not looking for a plated option, I am at the moment, just because I'm getting used to running in the next percent, getting close to the marathon, just to get my body used to it. But previously in the training block, again, using this thing for a lot of those road workouts. Absolutely loving it. It's got everything. It's such a lightweight package, and that is why I've just lent for it for so many things. Its weight is absolutely phenomenal. It's one of the lightest shoes that I've ever owned, and I think for me in a size 13, that's a really big thing because there's so many shoes out there that are designed for workout shoes and stuff. I was only talking the other day about comparing this to the Magic Speed, where the Magic Speed really is geared up for workouts and faster stuff, but this thing for me just blows it out of the water. So yeah, it's got such a good range on it, anywhere from moderate pace all the way up to marathon pace work, half marathon pace, fast stuff, 10k stuff. I've put in some really quick 30-second reps in it, and it's just handled everything so well. So will I continue to use this shoe moving forwards? Absolutely yes. But as I alluded to in the start of the video, I do feel like it's potentially gonna get to where the Hyperion Tempo's got to for me, but maybe not. I don't know at this moment in time. Let me explain why. I still feel like there's so much life left in this shoe in terms of the midsole and stuff, but for me, my Hyperion Tempos lasted until around sort of 350, 360 miles, which I'm relatively happy with. For me in this day and age, shoes are made a heck of a lot more disposable than what they used to be. So I kind of feel like if I can get anything over sort of 350, 400 miles in a shoe, then they've done a good job, in my book anyway. Now, the Hyperion Tempo kind of pushed it with that 350, but because I had such enjoyable miles in them, I kind of was like, all right, okay, it's a little bit early, but it is what it is. The difference between this one and the other one is what I've noticed is in the Hyperion Tempos, when you slip your foot into this shoe and the Tempos towards the end of their life, you kind of can feel your foot groove that's molded into a midsole foam. So I was used to run into the Hyperion Tempos and I used to put my foot in there and I could feel my foot shape in the midsole. And that's when I realised that it wasn't decompressing after every time I was running. It was starting to flatten out. And at that point, it started to get a bit bone shaking when you were running. It was very firm, very, very firm. And it really just kind of lost all pop and everything. And that's when I knew that I had to retire it. Now, this thing is nowhere near losing its pop or anything like that. But what I have noticed already is when I slip my foot into the shoe, I'm starting to feel that foot groove already. Now, I didn't feel that with the Tempos until after 300 miles. But with this one, I'm feeling it already. And I've noticed it in particular over the last couple of runs, which kind of concerns me a little bit because I do think to myself that was an early sign of retirement for the Tempo. It only lasted a few more runs and then I had to retire it because it just completely lost everything. And all I'm hoping for is at the moment is that although that foot shape is starting to appear, and when I put my foot in, I kind of feel like my toes all sit in a little groove, the front of my foot, my heel, it all kind of fits there. Maybe I just need to give it a week off and let everything decompress a little bit more and see if it feels different. But to be honest with you, I'd rather run this thing into the ground and see where it is. So my concern is, now I'm feeling at that now, am I going to get it to 300 miles? I hope so. I think I will do. Will I get it to 350? I just don't know. So that's kind of where my head's at the moment with this shoe. It's just fired off a warning sign to me, a sign that I had in the Tempo a little bit later on in the life of the shoe that I'm getting a little bit earlier in this one, which will be a massive shame if that happens because I absolutely wax lyrical about this thing. It is the best daily trainer of 2023 so far. I absolutely love it and I'll be really disappointed if it does have to take an early retirement. So let me finish off with some final thoughts on this one and give you a couple of comparisons, or one comparison in particular. I think I gave it on the last video. If you're looking at this shoe but maybe not sure. So my final thoughts on the thing is, as I said just now, best daily trainer of 2023, and my opinion of daily trainers have kind of changed over the years. Daily trainers were kind of something that were just a very easy recovery day shoe, something like a Pegasus, something like a Nova Blast version 1 or 2. That was always what it was, but for me now, with my type of training, I do a lot of zone 1, minimal zone 1, a little bit more zone 2. I kind of like a shoe that's a little bit lighter, still well cushioned, which this one is, but it's lighter, and something that can move a little bit faster. So I'm not looking for those max cushion shoes that I might have maybe considered as a daily trainer many years ago. Now this ticks all the boxes. It can do everything a daily trainer for me wants to be able to do everything, and that's exactly what this thing does. So definitely by far the best daily trainer of 2023 so far. I think what I will say from experiencing this shoe now is if you have a bad day, this shoe doesn't really help you out. If you have a good day, it feels absolutely incredible. I've had a couple of bad runs in this shoe where mentally I've just not quite been there. And then you kind of feel like the shoe's not giving you back what you want it to. But I don't think that's really the shoe's fault. It's just something that I noticed at the time and I thought, oh, the shoe feels really clunky today. Why is it not performing like it normally would? And that tends to generally come down to the runner itself. And so I just kind of write that off on those 2 days. But this is a mental note that I made that I wanted to kind of vocalize during this review. But other than that, let's just hope it doesn't have to take early retirement. In terms of comparisons and other alternatives, well, the first thing I'd say is if you don't want to stump up the money for this, but you want to try something similar, because this type of shoe isn't for everyone, it is on the firmer side, then I would try and find a Hyperion Tempo on discount. They're discounted everywhere at the moment, and their midsole is exactly the same. And although it's literally a couple of grams heavier, it's still a really good option, and it will give you a feel for what this one's going to be like. I feel this is a bit more aggressive than the Tempo. You can roll a little bit faster in them. It feels a faster shoe. So for me, I prefer this over the Tempo. But if you're interested in trying this range out, try and grab a tempo first. In terms of alternatives, Saucony Endorphin Speed 3, definitely one there that has matched up for me in terms of covering a big range of things. I prefer this to the Speed 3, but it's on the other end of the spectrum with a softer midsole. Both have a wider platform, both are very comfortable and enjoyable ride. So if you're looking for a shoe that, if I'm explaining to you the type of running that I do and you're like, yes, I need a shoe that can cover all of those things, but you're not keen on trying this one, then do consider the Saucony Endorphin Speed 3. So that's it from me today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this update of the Brooks Hyperion Max. Really enjoyed running this thing so far. Fingers crossed, no early retirement, and fingers crossed we can get through this training block and I can take them out on the summer trails and get a few more runs in them before they have to be retired. I'd love to hear how you're getting on with them. I know a lot of you guys pick them up as well and you're really liking them, and of course I know some of you aren't. It really is a Marmite shoe. I'd love to hear your thoughts on how you're getting on with them. How many miles are in them, and are you finding the same as me, or are they going on strong? That's it from today, guys. If you enjoyed it, please do consider giving it a like, share it with your friends, and of course subscribe to the channel for weekly running content. As always, I'll see you in the next one. Until then,